Welcome back, everyone. We're about to take a deep dive into a world where power, well, both technological and political, is like a double-edged sword,
Yeah, definitely. Very relevant theme, I think, especially these days.
For sure. We're diving into the Fireblade's Oath and this story. Well, it really got me thinking about sacrifice. What we're willing to sacrifice for the greater good, that kind of thing.
Hmm. Yeah. A question that definitely keeps coming up in this story, especially, on a planet like Ike, resources are scarce, right? And the environment itself, it's like a constant reminder of the power that lies beneath the surface.
Totally. Ike, this volcanic planet, it's not just a setting, it's practically a character in itself, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's so central to the story.
It's the source of trillium, right, this
Mhm.
super powerful energy source. And then there's biometal, which the Altons, they're the native race. By the way, they can manipulate biometal in some crazy ways.
Yeah, and that's a really important point. The Eldon's mastery of biometal, it's both a gift and a curse. It allows for some amazing technological advancements. But, and this is a big but, it also makes them vulnerable to manipulation and control. And that's exactly what we see happening with the Alton Federation.
Ugh, the Federation, talk about a dystopian nightmare, hoarding trillium, sabotaging biometal tech to create mutations.
And don't forget, they're planning to use those mutations to control the population, to basically create slaves.
Exactly, it's terrifying. And then there's Kael Dravus, our reluctant hero. He's a splicer, a biometal forger. He kind of stumbles on this whole conspiracy.
What really struck me about Kale was his reluctance to get involved. He's not like those typical heroes who just jump into action. He's forced to confront his own, what's the word, complacency. The compromises he's made just to survive under the Federation's rule.
Right, he's wrestling with this internal conflict, loyalty versus justice, and it ultimately leads him on this epic quest to find the legendary galactic Fireblade.
Okay, so the Fireblade. That's where things get really interesting. On the one hand, it's a weapon,
Right.
right? And it has immense power, enough power to challenge the Federation. But it's also connected to the heart of Ike itself.
Whoa, so it has a deeper meaning.
It suggests a deeper meaning, even maybe like a spiritual significance. It's not just about brute force. It's about, I don't know how to describe it, harnessing the energy of the planet, of Ike itself.
That makes me think of, real-world revolutions. They're often fueled by a similar kind of thing. Tangible resources, ND powerful symbols.
Exactly. Think about how important resources like oil or gold have been in history and how they've been tied to national identities, ideologies. The Fireblade in this story, it represents that same kind of potent mix of material and symbolic power.
Okay, so Kale is on this quest to find the Fireblade, but he doesn't go it alone, right?
Right. He has some awesome allies.
There's Lyra, a healer who uses biometal for, well, healing.
Right.
And then there's Torin. He's a cynical miner, and he's seen the Federation's corruption firsthand.
I love their dynamic. Lyra represents the hope and the healing that biometal can bring.
Yeah.
And Torin, well, he embodies that skepticism, the disillusionment of those who have really suffered under the Federation.
And Kale is kind of in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Trying to balance those two viewpoints.
Exactly. It's a tough spot to be in.
And we can't forget the bad guys. The Federation isn't just hoarding resources, right? They're actively creating biometal mutations. They're planning to turn people into slaves.
It's chilling. When you think about how technology can be twisted like that for such sinister purposes,
Yeah,
it makes you wonder, about our own world.
totally. It makes you think about, like, artificial intelligence, genetic engineering. These advancements, are we using them for good? Or are we heading towards a society where some people are just deemed more worthy than others?
That's exactly the kind of dilemma that Kale and his allies are facing. They're fighting for a future where technology empowers individuals, not the other way around, not enslaving them.
And the Fireblade? It's right at the heart of that struggle.
It represents both creation and destruction.
We've only just started to explore this world, And the ethical questions it raises. I'm hooked. What about you?
Oh, absolutely. I can't wait to see what happens next.
You know what really got to me? Like, how they handled this whole chosen one thing.
Yeah.
Kale isn't some, prophesied hero or anything.
Right.
He's just a guy. Just some guy who ends up in the middle of all this craziness. It makes him way more relatable.
Totally. There's no destiny hanging over him. He's just figuring things out as he goes along,
Yeah.
questioning himself constantly, struggling with the choices he has to make.
And even after he finds the Fireblade, it's not like he's instantly transformed into this all-powerful dude.
No, not at all.
He even struggles to control it sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
It's almost like the Fireblade has a mind of its own. You know what I
It
mean?
does. It so does. Like it's this living thing, a force of nature, and Kael's trying to work with it, not just, dominate it.
It's like a wild horse, a powerful wild horse. He's trying to tame it.
And that makes me think about like our own ambitions and how we try to control things in the real world. Do we work with them or try to bend them to our will?
That's deep. So speaking of control, what about Vara?
Oh, Vara. Now there's a fascinating character.
She's that splicer, right? The one loyal to the Federation, ruthless, ambitious. But she really believes the Federation is doing what's best for Ike.
Exactly. It's not blind obedience with her, not just following orders. She's bought into the whole ideology.
And that makes her a much more dangerous enemy, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Because she's not just fighting for power. She's fighting for what she thinks is right.
Man, that makes their whole conflict so much more interesting. It's not just good versus evil. It's a clash of ideas of what Ike should be.
Exactly. It really makes you think, like, how do you fight an enemy who believes they're doing the right thing? How do you even begin to change their mind?
Well, that's where Lyra and Torin come in. Right. I mean, Lyra with her compassion and her healing. She's the opposite of the Federation. She uses biometal to help people, to heal them.
Right. And Torin, well, he's the voice of skepticism. He keeps Kael grounded, reminds him of how messed up things really are.
They kind of represent those different sides of the resistance, don't they?
They do, they do. Lyra is hope. Torin is reality. And Kael, he's trying to find a way forward that balances those two.
It's like you need both in any movement for change, right? Idealists to dream of a better future and realists to keep things practical.
Totally. And leaders who can bring those two sides together.
Oh, and we can't forget the biometal war beasts. Those things are just,
Yeah.
nightmare fuel.
Oh, yeah. They're the stuff of nightmares. It's like the Federation took genetic engineering and turned it into a weapon.
Seriously. It makes you wonder what the limits are, you know? Where do we draw the line with technology?
That's the whole point, isn't it? They highlight the stakes of the conflict. Kael and his friends aren't just fighting for political freedom. They're fighting to survive.
Against these, like, abominations.
Abominations, exactly. It's like they're fighting on two fronts. Against the Federation's ideas and against these terrifying monsters they've created.
And all of this leads to the election epoch.
Ah, yes. The election epoch.
This event that was supposed to solidify the Federation's control. But Kael, he sees it as an opportunity, a chance to rally people, expose the truth, and spark a revolution.
It's a pivotal moment, that's for sure. A turning point in the story.
Yeah.
Kael understands how powerful symbols can be. And he uses that against the Federation.
It's like he's taking their propaganda machine and flipping it around, turning it against them.
Exactly. He's exposing their hypocrisy for everyone to see.
Makes me think of those historical moments when seemingly small things,
Yeah.
they become catalysts for massive change. One little act of defiance that lights the fire of rebellion.
Absolutely. Like the Boston Tea Party. Rosa Parks refusing to give up her seat on the bus.
Yeah.
These small acts that sparked entire movements.
And in the book, that's the election epoch. That's Kael's chance to plant that seed, to inspire the people of Ike to rise up and fight for their freedom. Man, this election epoch is really something else. It's like Kael is using the Federation's own game against them.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant move. He understands the power of symbols,
Yeah.
and he's using that to rally people, to expose the cracks in the Federation's control.
And he's not alone, right? Lyra, she plays a huge role in all of this.
Oh, absolutely.
She uses her skills, her biometal skills, to heal the people the Federation has hurt. It's like she's showing them what biometal can really do.
Right, not just destruction and control. Like the Federation...
She's showing them hope healing a different way.
Exactly. She's a living example of the future that Kael is fighting for. A future where biometal is used to heal and empower, not to control.
Man, it's such a powerful contrast, to what the Federation is doing.
It is. It really highlights the stakes, what they're fighting for.
And then we get to the final showdown.
Kael versus Vara.
It doesn't get much bigger than that, does it?
Nope. Two splicers, both with incredible power. The fate of Ike hanging in the balance.
And it's not just a fight, is it? It's about so much more.
It's about everything.
Yeah.
They both believe in what they're fighting for.
Vara, she's not just some evil villain. She really believes in the Federation. It's kind of tragic when you think about it.
Yeah. It's a reminder that even in a fight like this, it's not always black and white. People get caught up in things.
It makes you think about all the different sides to any story.
Exactly. There's always more to it than meets the eye.
And then the way Kael uses the fire blade, it's not just a weapon anymore. It's something more.
It's a symbol of hope, of change.
He channels its power to inspire the people. It's like
Yeah.
he's awakening something in them, their own strength, their own hope.
Yeah, that moment. It's like he's showing them that they have the power to change things, to fight back,
Yeah.
that they don't have to be victims.
And in the end, he makes a choice, a really powerful choice.
He plants the fire blade.
He becomes its guardian.
It's a symbol of hope for I.
It's such a powerful image, you know? He's not trying to control the fire blade. He's letting it be what it is, a force for good.
It shows his understanding of leadership.
Mm.
True leadership isn't about power. It's about serving something greater than yourself.
Man, this story is just, it's so powerful, you know? It makes you think about power, about responsibility, about what it really means to fight for something you believe in.
Exactly. It's a story that stays with you, makes you question things, and that's what good stories do, right?
They make you think, they challenge you, and they leave you wanting more. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Fireblade's Oath. It's been a wild ride.
It has.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive into the worlds of science fiction and